other children should learn about values if they haven't already, because I believe that values kind of help to shape a person, because, like, take the value of forgiveness. If you didn't know how to forgive, then you'd always be fighting with someone. And then the value of love, you wouldn't be kind or caring to anyone. So I think it's very important that children learn about values as soon as possible.
I think my favourite value is probably love, because it helps people be happy and helps them know that they're being loved and cared for. With my friends, like, as we've been over FaceTime and things, that to like look after each other and things and like make people happy.
I think determination is my favourite value because, well, recently I think a lot of people probably had to use it at some stage because of everything that's going on right now. But mostly last year I joined a group of people called Young Farmers, which we go around the country doing lots of different competitions and stuff, and some of it is quite hard, so I think I've had to use determination a lot more for that.
Well, I'm delighted this morning to be sharing with you a really beautiful aspect of values-based education. It's something that probably, true to say, isn't done as well as all the other aspects of values-based education. But speaking personally as a head teacher, a practitioner, as well as an exponent of this work, I can truly tell you that this has the most powerful influence upon individuals and whole school settings. So I'm commending it to you this morning, and I'm going to explain to you why I think it's such a wonderful thing. So I guess you're asking yourself now, well, what is reflection? What do you mean? What do I have to do? So this quote from Eckhart Tolle is very helpful to us, I think, right now. You are never more truly or fully yourself than when you are still. And how many of us as practitioners have thought, gosh, these children, can they be still? Do they know how to be still and silent? So one of the basic tools and the beginnings of this work is about actively teaching children how to sit still in a relaxed, alert and comfortable manner. And of course that takes practice. So this is an occupation that happens regularly in school, happens over and over again, so that children learn to be comfortable with it. But it's purposeful sitting still, and it's purposeful silence. And of course the children, adults too actually, need to adjust to that silence, because we're not really very used to it in our current day and age. We might not be comfortable with it. It leaves a space wide open for thoughts to come in, of course. But in my experience, children gradually develop the skill to go within themselves, to use that silence as a soothing tool, and then to go into their inner life of the imagination. So this is tapping into something extraordinarily powerful and of course unique for each individual. Just wanted to say at the outset that this work is always invitational. There's never compunction, and I think that's really important, because children, just like adults, need to feel comfortable in doing this, and they need to feel that it's something they want to do. And by saying to children that they don't have to do this, that the only requirement is we're all doing it, so the only requirement is don't disturb anybody else. Actually, that is very relaxing. You know, you can really calm when you know that you don't have to do something, particularly if you're not quite certain of it. But in my experience, every child begins to be able to use this in a way that's quite purposeful and meaningful for them. Our minds are our greatest tool, and we need to give them our attention and our unceasing care. And in our world, that often translates as make them do, make them work, make them think, get more out of them. But of course, you know, just like we need to sleep in order to be able to operate during the day, our minds need time as well to relax after constant effort, and to have that opportunity for soothing calm. So reflection is a time for a quiet moment to still the body, to focus on the breath. And when we do this, it calms the mind. And from this state, we're in a position to be able to think more profoundly about life and our environment, our world, our relationships, and what is for us the basis of life and our source of wonder and inspiration. So you're beginning to see, I hope, that it's multifunctional. It is in its first essence, reflection is about soothing ourselves. But when we use it more regularly, it becomes opportunity, using our body, our minds in a more profound way. So why do it? And that's a question that you'll rightly be asking yourselves this point. It's a standard in values-based schools, both in primary and secondary, and one of the many elements of this whole approach that sets it apart from the usual, and what you might usually be expecting. Visualization techniques can be taught in assembly times, if you have regular assembly times or lesson times, and developing inner and outer harmony that we do through this work leads to a maturity of thought and emotion, and it leads to more optimistic thinking and action. I'm going to talk about that particular element of this work a little later. So in my mind, it feeds the soul, it feeds the mind, and it feeds the body. And we know, don't we, we're quite well attuned to the connection between wellness in the body and wellness in the mind. So this is part of that work. And I think it's also about giving people a release and a safe space to come together. And this in itself is liberating. So when we're allowed to just pause for a moment, it's like a good book offering us freedom and liberation of our minds and deepening our understanding. And when we consider that part of our human right is to inhabit a safe space, how appropriate, of course, that that safe space includes the mind. And how many of us have a safe space in our mind that we can draw upon when we need it? Working this way with children can be an extraordinary act of connection. When a whole class or a whole school is doing it at the same time, I think of it as being alone with others. You are alone, you are an individual, of course, but the fact of everybody doing it together is tremendously reassuring and very comforting. So taking part in daily or regular reflection activities involving calming of the body and the mind, perhaps through visualization techniques, develops an inner and outer maturity of thought and emotion through optimistic thinking and action. I'm just going to give you a moment to just digest and think about that information that I've just shared with you. So if you're anything like me, your mind will be now whirring on to think, yes, but you know, what happens? That's all very well. Well, I've worked in this way for over 25 years now with children, and in a variety of settings too. And I can assure all of you that the result of using reflection in a regular and sustained and in a very meaningful way is individual inner calm. You really do start to see a change in children's behaviours. And of course, that's how they're feeling about themselves manifests in how they express that in their outer behaviours. And of course, what that does is contribute to the atmosphere of the school. So a different vibe starts to be created in the school, and it comes from this. And that impacts then on relationships, on individual self-esteem, on that sense of harmony within the school. I think it also has the quality of putting us as individuals in touch with the numinous, with the spiritual side of ourselves and of our world, and can lead to us having a sense of otherness, which some people would call God, which some people would call our soul. But it leads us into new possibilities for thinking. Another result of reflection is the ability for us to start to send positive messages to ourselves. So in the visualization that I'm going to share with you a little later, you'll see that I've woven in opportunities for affirmation, self-affirmation, because in so doing, it's also the most brilliant opportunity to create a different mindset. All that we do in terms of the breath and the calming works on one level. As I said, we can also use it to change and to develop how we think. And we know that wishful daydreaming for self-motivation is very different from escapist fantasies. We're not talking about that. We're talking about dreaming that represents positive imagination, framing ideas in possibility, and envisaging scenarios that are achievable in the future. And the painting with words I'll share with you allows the children to experiment in both. And of course, we know from our great athletes and our great sporting heroes that we can train our minds to mentally rehearse success and to develop a positive outlook. And this increases these positive messages to ourselves, as well as then our self-esteem. So when done regularly, and especially as a whole school, I would commend to you, the approach has such a positive impact on behaviour, self-esteem, concentration, all of which, of course, we know prerequisites for successful learning. Some interesting snippet of research here from Martin Seligman, writing in 2002, who'd researched that teaching 10-year-old children the skills of optimistic thinking and action cuts their rates of depression in half when they go through puberty. So that we know incorporated in this entire approach are some tremendous possibilities for us touching the future. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, values-based schools share a monthly value, and they give their children perhaps a 1 minute to up to 5 minutes, perhaps even a little bit longer, reflection on the values and what it means to them. The setting will be preferably relaxed and calm. I often close the curtains in the room that I'm in with the children and have dim lighting, calming music, that sets the scene beautifully. And it's almost the signal before the signal to relax, really. So the children know what's coming. They know it's a very special time. It feels quite different to the rest of school life. Children might be sitting on the floor or in seats or at individual desks. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever suits your environment and suits your students. Often sitting in a circle or horseshoe is really nice, because that's that physical space and the physical shape is quite helpful to the whole process, I think. But it doesn't matter really. There's not a particular hard and fast rule. But the point about inviting children to take part, I come back to again, because this is so important. I feel so strongly this activity must be invitational. And frankly, if it isn't, they're not going to be doing it anyway, because they can do what they want to with their own minds, can't they? So making it invitational is really important. And then you talk them through the relaxation. I always demonstrate to the children how to sit. So I always go through the same process that they're doing. And if the children are facing you, and I tell them about sitting with their back straight but not strained, and sometimes say, or imagine a string, an invisible string from the top of your head, just holding your head up so that your chin is on a level. And then I show the children how to place their hands in their laps. And sometimes I just invite them to put one hand in front of the other. Quite often we develop a different way of using our hands and a different way of holding them, depending on the value that we're doing, so that there's that physical reflection of the concept that we're talking about. And then I invite the children to close their eyes, or very often we have a lit candle, and I'll invite them to focus on that if it's helpful to them, or focus on a fixed point somewhere away from them, but not looking at anybody else. And then using the following words as a template. And we're developing these templates for wording for relaxation and visualization, because we recognise that teachers don't always feel comfortable doing this at the outset, and they don't always feel that they have the voice and the words to do it with. So this is something that you can use as a tool to help you. The voice, use a soft voice, I would say, and don't be afraid to give time for pupils to take in what you're saying. So give time for reflection, in your reflection, moments of silence and pauses. And then sometimes, but not every time, you might like to ask the children to talk about their visualizations afterwards, perhaps to their partner, perhaps to the whole group. Sometimes it's nice to just have it as their own thoughts. So who can do it? Well, absolutely anyone and everyone, if it's done with sincerity. So I would be encouraging adults to do it too, and to lead it by example. And I've been told so many times how much my teachers like it, because not only do they enjoy doing it, but also they recognise it's a time for them personally. In fact, you know, my teachers have said sometimes it's the only time that they get in their entire day, because we all lead such busy lives now, to have these moments of stillness and silence. So they'll appreciate it as much as the children. We use it in the school together in assembly times, and then in the classrooms. And in my school, which is a 4-class school, each teacher has developed a really different approach, and I think that's absolutely super, because they've developed something that's quite pertinent, quite appropriate for their children. So, for example, in reception, from when they're really tiny, they come into school, they start to build the ability to sit in tranquility, focus on the candle. They'll hold hands and they'll think about their particular value as invited by the teacher. And it is exquisite to watch. And then right through to years 5 and 6, our oldest children, who often need their own reflection time and have their own thoughts about things. And those are just so humbling to be part of. And when you see the children doing that, you know that they have the tools and the skills to take this on through their lives, should they want to. When can I fit it in is, the foremost question for all teachers, isn't it? Because we've got such a packed day, such a packed curriculum. As you can see, it doesn't need to take a really long time. And people who do use it in their classroom would say they will always use it in their classrooms, because the impact of it is so positive. So they can't imagine being without it. And one of the great things about it, I think, is that it's really flexible. You can use it at any point in the school day. Preparation for a lesson, coming back in after break or lunch where you need to regroup as a class, or at the start of the day to start things off. Sometimes as a finish is really nice too. And how long will it take? Well, children get really good at this. So definitely start with just a really short time, and build up. Even doing it for a really short time, the children often say, gosh, that felt a lot longer. It felt like we fitted a lot in, because it's so powerful, it's so potent, but it doesn't have to take over everything else that you're doing. So I'm just going to give a moment to pause there. Okay. So now I'm going to talk you through the kind of reflection that I would be doing with the children in the class. And Jane Hawkes and I have developed these, and we've called them Painting with Words, because these are guided visualizations where we talk children through a set of scenarios, all related to their particular value. And we take them through, as you will see, the process of calming the body, calming the mind, and then giving us food for thought. Okay, so welcome to the value of courage, and welcome everybody, as we're thinking about the value of courage today. I'm going to ask you, what does that mean for you today? So at this point, you might take just a few moments and gather some thoughts, and that just gets the children thinking into it, and it's participative. Of course, it gets them into the idea that this isn't just something being done to them. This is a process of which they're part. And then I might reiterate, for example, when we talk about courage, we think about being brave and facing things that bring us fear, and finding our way through difficult times. We all have times when we need courage. Having courage comes in little steps, and the more we practice it, the further we can travel. We know that we can build our courage from the inside, and this helps to do things that are hard, and that's called self-leadership. And some of you will recognise that's another element of the values-based education approach, which of course this is feeding into so beautifully. And then I'll go on to say, I'm going to share with you a guided visualization today so that you can do this on your own and maybe with some members of your family, which is just a nice subtle way of enabling this work to go home and carry its influence more widely. So this is the bit where the visualization really starts. And each time we start with calming your body. So find a comfortable seated position where your spine can be held upright. And feel the connection of your physical body to the chair or floor. So if children are sitting on a chair, I'll just invite them to have both feet on the floor and just take a moment to recognize that feeling. And I'm now going to invite you to gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Sense yourself sitting with dignity. And today, for our value of courage, I invite you to place your hands, one hand over the other, on your chest. And feel your courage growing as you do so. Now just take a moment to be aware of any activity that might be going on in your mind. Our minds are often very active. And when we're learning to watch this activity, to observe what's going on in there, just allows us to take a step away from it. We're watching our thinking without judging ourselves. And that feels good, doesn't it? And just notice any other emotions or sensations in your body. That's all you have to do, just notice them. And see if you can attend to these now by breathing your breath to them. You're really good at this. When you focus your attention on your breath, just your natural inhalation and exhalation. What do you notice? Maybe you notice the cooler air in your nostrils as you breathe in, and the warmer air as you breathe out. Maybe you notice the rise and fall of your chest. Maybe you notice that your breathing's just slowing down a little. So now see if you can gently breathe a little deeper. Exhale for a little longer. Just notice how peaceful and calm you feel now. And this is a gift for you to use any time you want to use it. But today we're thinking about the value of courage. And as you sit feeling calm and still, I'm going to invite you to imagine in your mind's eye that you're in the night sky and you're looking to the beautiful light of a star. You're quite safe. You see in the heart of the star the strong light. And that light enfolds you in its wings. There's nothing to fear. The light of the star is clearing away your fear, and it fills you with courage. Just allow yourself to breathe in the beautiful light. It smells fresh and clean and hopeful. Reach out a hand to touch it. It's smooth and silky. And listen carefully. Its sound is tinkling like clear glass bells. The light from the star is courage. So feel it now, swooping right through your body. Watch it as it comes up through your feet, your legs, your tummy, right up to your chest and head. Just spend a moment breathing in your courage. Let it fill you today. I invite you now to say to yourself the words, I feel courage. I am courageous. I am brave. And you can use those words inside you anytime you feel you need them. But notice how it changes how you feel. You feel courage now. You feel brave. You've shared in this courage, and it has filled your body with its beautiful light. Feel it soothing and calming you from the inside out. It leaves you feeling strong and sure. Enjoy your new feeling. And if you feel you have enough courage now to share, in your mind's eye, let it go outwards from you to someone else who needs it today. Maybe it's someone in this room, or in this school, or maybe someone in your family. If you don't know of any one person in particular, why not send it right out into our world? And now I invite you to become aware of your body in this room. Notice your feet and your fingers, and give them a little wiggle. And as you open your eyes, bring your wonderful courage back with you into the present day. Thank you, everybody. That was beautiful. And remember that you can create this feeling for yourself anytime you want, using our painting with words way, or just by repeating your affirmation, I feel courageous. And the more you do it, the more courageous you can become. And then at the end of that session, I might ask if anyone would like to share any of their thoughts and feelings. Or another nice thing to do is to give everybody a personal reflection journal. They can just jot down any thoughts there. You'll decide. You'll probably use a mix of ways. So in summing up all of this, what is the point of reflection? Well, I hope that today, experiencing the painting with words that we've just done, you've been able to get a little sense of how it can feel for you and perhaps for your children. But our inner world is everything. And when we develop control over our world inside, we can better navigate our outer world. And moreover, when we're internally peaceful, we emanate this around us. You know, we each carry our own atmosphere. So if each of us is carrying an atmosphere of calm, then we change the vibrations in the places we are. And these are the vibrations of our influence. So a whole school that practices these kinds of reflective practices very regularly is making a big difference to how the way that school organisation is being, and a big difference to how all the people inside that organisation feel about themselves, about each other, about their work. And I think, as ever, this is always summed up so beautifully in the words from the children themselves. So Saskia, aged 9, tells us, "I love the time when we light the candle and we're quiet and calm. It makes me feel safe and it makes me find the real me. It's like a door opening and showing you the way." It's about creating a climate of delight for us all. And this is never truer than when we're using reflection. So I commend this to you, and I hope that you try it, and I hope that you love it as much as I do. Thank you.